No one inside the America's Got Talent theater expected anything extraordinary when the young Filipino kid walked onto the massive stage. He looked small under the blinding lights, his clothes modest, his posture shy, and his eyes filled with a mixture of nerves and hope. The audience had seen countless child singers before, some talented, some forgettable, but nothing about this boy screamed legend in the making. Even the judges leaned back casually, unaware that history was about to unfold in front of them. Simon Cowell glanced at his notes. Heidi smiled politely, and Howie prepared himself for another sweet but predictable performance. The boy introduced himself softly, his accent revealing his roots, and when asked about his dream, he spoke not of fame or money, but of helping his family and honoring his parents' sacrifices. That single sentence already tugged at a few heartstrings, but still, no one was prepared for what would happen next. When the music cue was given, the theater fell into a quiet anticipation. The boy took a deep breath, closed his eyes for just a second, and opened his mouth, and in that instant, everything changed. The first note that escaped his lips did not sound like it belonged to a child at all. It wasn't just good, it was shocking. The voice was deep, rich, and unmistakably familiar. Gasps rippled through the audience as whispers spread like wildfire. Is that Elvis? The resemblance was uncanny, not just in tone, but in emotion, control, and soul. This wasn't a gimmick or imitation. It felt as though the spirit of Elvis Presley himself had found a new vessel in this unlikely young performer from the Philippines. Simon Cowell's head snapped up instantly, his expression transforming from indifference to disbelief. Heidi's eyes widened, her mouth slightly open, while Howie leaned forward as if trying to confirm that what he was hearing was real. The audience sat frozen, afraid to breathe, as the boy continued singing with a confidence far beyond his years. Each lyric carried weight, each note perfectly placed, as if this music lived inside him. The contrast between his small frame and the powerful voice pouring out of him created a surreal moment, one that made time feel suspended. By the time he reached the chorus, people were already on their feet, applause erupting mid-performance, something rarely seen on the AGT stage. As the song progressed, the emotional depth of the performance became undeniable. This wasn't just about sounding like Elvis, it was about feeling the music. The boy's voice carried traces of struggle, hope, and longing, as though every note was shaped by real-life experiences far beyond his age. Cameras cut to audience members wiping away tears, parents clutching their children, and grown men nodding in disbelief. The judges exchanged stunned glances, silently acknowledging that they were witnessing something truly rare. Simon Cowell, known for his brutal honesty, sat unusually still, his face serious and focused, as if he were carefully studying a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon. The boy's stage presence grew with each verse, his fear melting away, replaced by quiet confidence and emotional surrender. When he reached the final note, he held it effortlessly, letting it resonate through the theater before gently releasing it into silence. For a brief moment after the music stopped, there was no sound at all. Just shock, awe, and the collective realization that this was no ordinary audition. Then the theater exploded into thunderous applause, a standing ovation that seemed endless. The judges struggled to find words. Heidi spoke first, her voice trembling as she praised not just the talent, but the soul behind it. Howie called the performance goosebump-inducing, and admitted he had never experienced anything like it from someone so young. But it was Simon Cowell's reaction that truly sealed the moment. Known for being nearly impossible to impress, Simon leaned into his microphone and paused, choosing his words carefully. He admitted that he had heard countless Elvis impersonators over the years, but none had ever moved him the way this boy had. "You didn't try to be Elvis," Simon said. "You were Elvis, while still being completely yourself." The audience erupted once again. The boy stood there overwhelmed, tears welling in his eyes as he listened to praise he likely never imagined receiving. His hands trembled as he thanked the judges, his humility shining just as brightly as his talent. In that moment, it became clear that this audition was about more than music. It was about destiny, perseverance, and the power of dreams crossing oceans. When asked about his life back in the Philippines, the boy shared a story that added even more weight to his performance. He spoke of growing up with limited resources, of singing wherever he could, at home, in school events, sometimes just to lift his own spirits during difficult days. Elvis Presley's music, he explained, was something his family loved, something that brought them joy during hard times. Learning those songs wasn't about copying a legend. It was about finding strength and escape. As he spoke, the audience listened in silence, understanding now that his voice was shaped not only by talent, but by resilience. This revelation transformed the audition from an impressive moment into an unforgettable one. It reminded everyone watching, both in the theater and around the world, that greatness can come from the most unexpected places. A kid from a small home in the Philippines had just walked onto one of the biggest stages in the world and left an indelible mark. By the end of the night, one thing was undeniable. AGT had witnessed a historic moment. Clips of the audition spread rapidly online, racking up millions of views as people across the globe reacted with disbelief and admiration. Headlines called it one of the most unexpected Elvis voices ever heard, and fans praised not just the sound, but the heart behind it. For the boy, the journey was only beginning, but that single performance had already changed his life forever. He walked onto the stage as an unknown child and walked off as a symbol of hope, proof that talent knows no boundaries of age, nationality, or circumstance. In the echoes of his voice, people heard more than music. They heard dreams coming true. And long after the lights dimmed and the applause faded, one truth remained clear. The spirit of Elvis had found new life, not in a grand palace or a glittering costume, but in the humble voice of a Filipino kid who dared to sing his heart out.